Here we are again. Dare I try the video? See what happens. Can you hear me, Daniel? All right. I'm gonna hit video and see if you freeze.
Oh no. John is now.
You're muted.
Muted.
I'm gonna stay in voice mode because it seems when I go to video, you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. And I can see Tim.
Hello,
Daniel's
Tim.
not frozen. Something weird happens, Tim, when I go into video. Daniel's.
I can see Tim, and I can see Tim moving around. Is good.
Yeah, he's looking for the unmute button.
You can turn up the volume. You guys are somehow you're quite in the background. Hang on a second here.
Testing.
It's like you're in another room.
If I turn my fan off, is that any better?
Okay. Try again.
Any better? Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
normal mode.
That's good enough. You can hear me fine, right?
Yeah, you're a little faint.
Here you go.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I can. Tim is muted, so we're good. I guess he can do.
Oh, he just spoke. Yeah, I just heard him.
I see him.
Hey there.
Tim.
I can just hear you.
How you doing, Tim?
All right. Been a long time.
It's been a while, sir. Sure has. Give me like 10 seconds. Let me put a title screen for any sort of sad, lonely person on Twitter who's dropping by right now. They might want to know where they are. Hang on a second. Hi there. My name's Daniel Markham. That's my website. Every week, get together with some of my friends. We talk about articles from a technology process point of view. There are no rules. We try to be civil, of course. You're welcome to drop by and join in. Today we have Tim and John, Tim Ottinger and John Kern. Hey, guys.
Daniel, how you doing, man?
Hey, pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When I turn my video on,
Okay,
Discord goes wacky.
I've got my volume working, so I don't know if you should touch any, but give it a shot.
You think? All right. At most, I just have to leave and come back. But yeah.
I got those spinny dots. Got a black screen. That's
part way.
It is. We're moving. It's moving. It's a work in progress. So, Tim, what you been up to over the last year or so? It's been a year, I think.
Oh yeah, it's been quite a while. I've been in Scotland. I love living here. Hope to continue living here for a long time. So it's about 8 p.m. for me.
Do they make you wear the dresses and play the dead cat thing all the time, or is that just like for special occasions you do that? Or
it's all the time by the tourist places.
Okay.
Every once in a while, you'll hear them out for some other events, weddings and funerals and what have you. But if you go up by the castle or on Prince's Street or 3 or 4 other places, it's pretty constant.
I have. I don't think I've ever heard bagpipes in person. I know everybody loves to joke about how awful they sound, but I would really like to hear them in person because it's a weird looking instrument. It's kind of like an accordion it's an odd looking instrument.
There's a place here advertising bagpipe lessons. I guess, if you want to hear one played badly, you could pop in for a quick lesson and see what a total amateur sounds like. Some of them aren't too bad. They, it's a lot of them are students, and then some of them are professional out busking. So when the better they are, the better the rhythm is, the better it sounds. It actually sounds pretty cool sometimes. And then when they're adorably young and trying to play it, sometimes it doesn't sound very good, but it's cute as heck.
Yeah. The bagpipe's almost as big as they are.
Yeah.
And I learned that until the last couple hundred years or so, the Irish had pipes and the English had bagpipes, sort of things, and they all wore the kilt sort of stuff. I believe Scotland just kept it all. Some of the other ones sort of got rid of it.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, I believe the English tried to outlaw it, and the Scotch were like, and then the English wouldn't outlaw it. The Scots were never going to get rid of it. Just not
That's right. There might just be a little bit of spite in the air over here.
Okay, nice. So we've only got a couple, 3 articles. What have I been doing this past week? I have been using this new program called Roots Magic. Not about trees. Actually, this program.
Is it a hair coloring agent?
No, it's a genealogy thing.
Yeah. It's genealogy.
I'm familiar with it. It come from my mom.
I got a notification from Ancestry.com that I have a new first cousin. And Tim, if you're not familiar with my situation, I'm adopted, which is fine. I really never wanted to look up my bio parents, but I don't hate them. I just thought about it. And then about 5 years ago, I took a DNA test and found out I had a whole bunch of folks on my mom's side of the family living close by. Met those folks. They're awesome. Don't know who my biological dad is. Like I said, I didn't get into this to find out these people. They're just here. And so I keep getting notifications that I have these first cousins or uncles or whatever. There aren't the mom's side. So I'm just going to find who the dad is so I can tell the kids or anything else. I feel like I owe it to them.
I guess it's good for health reasons as well to find out, what are you prone to in your family.
Yeah, I'm okay with people seem to think that, how adoption isn't as regular kid. Felt that way myself, of course. My mom never felt that way, but I get it. I guess some people are 6 generations ago, we came over in the Mayflower or whatever. I mean, that's important to them. I've always considered myself a pound puppy. Little this, little that. I keep hoping. You know what the big shock and disappointment was for the DNA test? I have no Zulu warriors at all in my ancestry.
Oh, man.
I was hoping like a prince of Africa or maybe Egyptian king, but
6'5".
I'm more Scottish than you are, Tim.
Well, probably so. When I had mine done, they said so my name is German. I always assumed that I was from Germany, and then I found that it's a Bavarian name, so I figured I was Bavarian. And they said a little bit of German, a bit more French, a lot of English, and a pretty good chunk of Scottish in there too.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Predominantly English.
60% English, maybe 35 Scottish, like 13 Irish, and maybe 2%. It's mostly just pretty much England.
Where did you both, what service did you use to find this? Is it like a 23andMe or something, or there's?
I got 23andMe, Ancestry.com, MyHeritage.com. There's a couple other ones.
Oh, okay, cool.
I
never did that.
I'm getting relative notifications from different sites. And it's like if nothing else, I need to collect all of these random DNA relatives from some.
Yeah, my mom uses that. She did a lot of genealogy for here in this part of the neck of the woods in southeastern Pennsylvania. There's the Pennsylvania Germans, so she worked for decades at a genealogical society, loosely associated with the university where my dad was a dean. So she retired recently. She's, like going to be 95, but she did a ton of research. And so that's why I know the Roots Magic. She used that. And has a ton of data in there that she used and put ours in there too, our families.
Well,
She,
the problem is
research our family, but
every site I signed up for wanted me to like pay a subscription to enter my own family tree. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's got to be something I can buy for this. I'm not paying every month to remember who my uncle was.
yeah.
So
And it's pretty much just a database.
Yeah, Roots Magic is the deal. It exports a common format. I want to import it. It, as you know, it does everything: family history, DNA.
Cool.
Okay, so first story we got is somebody. Oh yes, the depression story. So, not as sad as it may seem.
The scopolamine. That thing?
Yes, they did a study with scopolamine, and they're like 60 to 80% rate on treating depression. That's an amazing thing. That's something like penicillin.
Yeah, and crazy enough from the deadly nightshade family,
This is the zombie drug. If you've ever heard of people like turning into a zombie, it is scopolamine. They give you the scopolamine and you're still conscious, but you will have no memory of what you're doing.
Oh, wow. Could be good and bad.
Yeah, obviously you feel better when it's over with. Whatever you did was good for you.
Yes, we operated and took your liver. Yeah.
This is just one of a series. There's another one talking about ecstasy, about how people take a dose of ecstasy. They don't even realize that they're taking subclinical, still there. And it gets like a 60% lift rate on self-harm. Better about you. Yeah, there's some really crazy studies going. Good news for folks.
I like how it also had a bit of a root in motion sickness. Yeah.
See if I can find that, because I know there's got to be some cool articles. Oh, it's also known as
I just now noticed the bit where it says that they were given it specifically to patients with treatment-resistant depression.
Yeah.
So the hard cases have significant improvement within 3 days, some within hours. That's pretty amazing.
Probably the most amazing medical news I've heard this year, quite a bit. Depression, may or may not know, filling pills at folks, and there are folks who just don't get any good news for folks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
If you look at the wiki page, well, this is a bunch of stuff. European witchcraft. It's got a heck of wild history to it.
Oh, wow.
Drug. I guess the happy. In the Bible, even mandrake.
Oh, is that the same thing? Yeah.
Used in crime. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about. Used in crime. The ingestion of scopolamine can render a victim unconscious for hours or more. Large doses, death. They use it in Colombia. Grab travelers. Number of annual incidents at approximately 1,000.
Wow.
You rob a victim using the drugs. You give the drug to the person, they become highly susceptible to ingestion, don't remember, and then they're going to get they get their money out of the.
It's good for motion sickness.
Good for motion sickness.
Chemistry is weird stuff.
It is. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I guess.
I still remember my wife had to have some surgery, and there's a pain medicine called Dilaudid. and so it's given intravenously. And I remember asking, the person administering it, like, how much are you giving? And like this really tiny amount. I'm like how many molecules are in there? I don't know, because it was like instant, and it's just mind-boggling. How does something so innocently small like have that kind of an effect that fast? Incredible.
And I think that propanol, they use that as well. And it's not only is it very, very small, but it like wears off in 5 minutes or tiny little longer than once you back up, they just stop and
Oh yeah, that's like the colonoscopy sleepy juice. That stuff's it's I think that's what Michael Jackson died of.
yeah.
But that's a beauteous thing. And it is like a very square wave. It's not like traditional, Novocaine or anything like that. No, it's on and it's off. And then you wake up like you had the best sleep in the world. It's insane. Yeah.
My endoscopy back, it's like IV in, they put in the thing, tell me it's going to be 10 minutes. And I'm fine. I have no drugs in me. Guy gets a little needle and I see him push the needle in. And I get about a second of feeling like, hell, I'm feeling kind of different.
Yeah.
And I was trying to identify, like, was I going to, but no, I just off on.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Okay, so that's cool science news. Next one is yes, this story. I just found it amazing. I'm not really explaining it in technology terms, but this girl who's very creative and for all intents and purposes a genius creates a series called Girls, but I guess naked quite a bit, maybe. I don't. Not that that's here nor there, but for purpose of this article, the reason I posted it was the premise of her show is that dang, we millennial girls are so shallow, so jealous of people. Like, oh well, famous, but that's just because her boyfriend died. That kind of catty,
Yeah.
shallow stuff, and that's her joke. She's poking fun at her own folks, and people love the show. Very smart, but it's like she became too good at it because like the show looked effortless, so people were like, "Heck, I could do that." It's just a bunch of people sitting around complaining about stuff. And people were like, "You know, they pay her $300,000 for a show. That's nothing there." And the irony here is the people trashing her online are exhibiting behavior that she's satirizing on it. So it's like a sort of cursive thing she's created. Um,
Yeah, and the lack of self-awareness, I guess.
It's just weird, right? It's just
Yeah, it's funny. In a very tangential way, JB Rainsberger posted something about, all right, I'm really tired of people saying, you know, nobody does X anymore. And he's like, no, well, he said noble X. Yeah. And I'm like, and he's like, no, I've been doing noble X for like 1,085 consecutive days. So, why do you just, so he's sort of ranting a little bit and he says, all right, normally I never do the blame game. So tomorrow I'm going to go back to restarting my consecutive days of not blaming people or something humorous like that. And I responded because what went through my head is, the we are so prone to the absolutisms. We're experts. We our industry is rife with that kind of assuredness. And I even parenthetically said, and I'm pretty sure I'm right right now. While I'm writing this, but it's similar where we don't reflect that well. Like that whole not really being able to stand back from it and having that perspective, like what you're sort of pointing out here, that the folks are actually exhibiting exactly what was, and it's this, I don't know, it's this weird circular thing.
I find that odd. To me, it says that if they emotionally, they really don't care. It's just it doesn't matter at all. So you can be prompted emotionally to the point where it doesn't not introspective. It doesn't matter if you're doing the thing being satirized. It's the thing. You love the thing. I used to feel like we were doing too much planning, and but at the same time, you can't be an expert in everything. So you have stereotypes or groups or kind of big labels. Otherwise, you would spend the entire day talking about what a cup of water would be. Going to get a couple. You have to use fuzzy words. So it's
Sure.
kind of wired into us to use words. You have to hope to be self-aware.
Little self-awareness is a good thing. One of my favorite Will Rogers quotes is everybody's ignorant just about different things.
That's a good one. True. Yeah.
But I think we run into a problem that we think it's okay when we do it. That's the trouble is condemning or satirizing or insulting or assaulting or the disdain humor. It's because we're so much smarter than that of course we can handle this disdain humor and we can put them down. That stuff, you are what you eat, man.
Yeah.
If you live on disdain humor, you become a disdainful person and you stop being introspective. You stop being aware of it. You have to kind of get off of that diet if you want to have a healthier way of being.
Going back to de Tocqueville and his America, we visited America in 1800, determined why we were successful, failed. And you're exactly right, but okay, that in limited context, self-aware. I'm going to go root for my home baseball team. Those other jackrabbits, bunch of scurvy dogs, and you can enjoy being a mockery of yourself. But I think what happens is that we make universal culture online where there has to be a universal good and bad guy, and we don't realize that we're just playing the role of having fun. And that's extreme, very, very bad.
Yeah, there's no body language associated with online text. There's no, a wink and a nod or, something indicating, like your real sense. But yeah.
There's a little thing somebody was talking about, when people are teasing at work, that makes it an unsafe workplace. You can't have two people joking with each other because not everybody will know their relationship and that they're just joking and it's just friendly. And I get that. I do. But a punch in the shoulder between best friend teenage boys is not an assault. And you're not going to think it was an assault when Jake gives, Mark a punch in the shoulder and they're both laughing about it and they're hanging out and they're not,
right.
You can tell that's not an assault. There's just a bit of jostling that's enjoyable. And as long as you both know, and that's, I think, where it starts to fall off is when it's me and you and we both punch Mark and we think it's funny. That's right. Not the same thing as when Mark thinks it's funny.
Right. Yeah, that's a good distinction. Yeah.
I think love to me, love somebody like in a marriage. Okay, well, it's just that. So you want to have it one another. You want to be. Trust isn't a thing you establish a statue that breaks or whatever. No. Like, no, that joke offended. Don't tell that. Okay, fine. I'll tell that or whatever. But that ongoing process is what sets those boundaries so you can feel like you could punch Tim in order to. Somebody had to do it the first time, and Tim either had to laugh or punch him back. And at that point, we all realized it's okay. Every day for lunch money, but that's another story. Sorry, Tim.
There's I'm not a counselor. I am related to several of them, but I would be malpractice to attempt counseling. But I do know of the term. And there's a marriage counselor, not related to me, who had written about this. And they said that she could usually tell within minutes in couples counseling if they're going to make it or not. And, it doesn't take long. It's not a very deep thing. She said that it's actually, unfortunately, called transaction in the business. And what it is not, it's not a tit for tat. I give you this, so you give me that. It's not like, well, I'm rich, so you sleep with me. It's not like that. It's that there's always an exchange of energy. And you talk about the reaching out. There is a constant exchange of energy between people who are close. And it's absent when they're not really close or when they don't want it, right? And you can tell. They said that counselors say it's pretty easy to spot if there's an actual exchange of energy between the people, if there's a transaction taking place or not. Now, again, it's not a financial transaction or a convenience transaction. It's just a way of being. And maybe that's the thing that we look for in these, maybe that's the difference between disdain and playful rivalry.
Right.
To John's point, there's no nuance online. You can't put the wink in or the body shuffle as you're uncomfortable. Stuff's more important than that. Reduce it down to some words, and who knows what they really said, what they meant.
Yeah, you can't see the relationship in it.
It was funny because when I first got online back in the early 2000s, jokes that people good faith. That's that scam I run last week. I'm just stuff about myself. People didn't know. I mean, they thought maybe I was a scammer, and it took me out. Nobody trusts anybody online. You can't. Humor is the toughest thing to do. And it is.
Especially sarcasm, maybe. I still try. See who gets it.
I just a good show. It's a documentary. I'm called "Take a Joke" about the problems comedians were having 10 years ago. Teasing. I mean, there were comics that would on everybody in the entire room, and that was just good. People love that stuff. It was done out of a spirit of kindness, and everybody realized that they weren't going to get out of there without having getting poked good with a sharp stick. To lose that, good.
Yeah, you don't get the Don Rickles, Johnny Carson relationship in a text exchange.
Yeah,
it was almost universally loved. It's strange. He every ethnic group he could, and realized from looking at him the way he treated people, having fun, and if he hurt your feelings, I'm sure he joked to begin. And to Tim's point, there could be a mean version of that too.
that's for sure. Yeah, like the a bit of humor that I tried on a Twitter response. Somebody was showing, I don't know, 1960s T-Bird, Thunderbird car, like in the classic, and driving along and said something about, like, what would you think, you need, what would need to happen, I don't know, with put you in this car. I forget what, some kind of a phrase. I personally don't like him at all. So, like, what one change would you make to this car? Or would you need to make it your own? I forget. And I just said something like the registration, like just something, relatively short.
Yeah.
And like I did, because I didn't want to say anything. Like I try to not say something bad about a post that, like, I think it's a horrible car. So, why should nobody cares, right? This is for people who like it.
I've got some really good snark. I just have to lay that down and give it to somebody. And it's like, hey, love the person you're with, but no. I get you. I've done that many a time. It's like I 3 words. I can give them 3 words. They can't be offended with 3 words. They still get upset.
Yeah, like I thought that was pretty clever because it could be 2 ways. Yeah, like, no, I don't like the car. Like, it was a fun little. I don't know. I didn't see if anybody responded to it yet. If the OP responded, but yeah, it is. I do try to put mostly humor out there about certain things, and see what
One
See
of
if
the things I
anybody picks
mentioned
up on it.
told the story, you guys remember it or not, but the lady who following 100 flying to Africa. Before she got on the plane, she tweeted, I'm going to Africa. I hope I don't get AIDS. Kidding, I'm a white person. And was from Africa. Okay, grew up in South Africa. Racism. So she was like making fun of the racist people in her own country. But got on the plane, turned her phone off, and while she flew 6 hours, got back off her plane. Millions of people hated this. He'd been fired from her company, lived in disgrace.
Oh my goodness.
And nobody even knew who she was, but they were all just ready to kill her.
Yeah.
Too easy.
Yeah, well, the threat radars are not at a low setting these days.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
it's a shame because, like, I have to explain. I'm just going to tell you a joke now about knocking on the door. Knock, knock. I have to do that because if I don't, people are like, well, some people can't afford it. I've told joke. I swear to goodness, I have told a joke on Facebook, and like one of the commenters came by and said something like, my cat died, and it was the joke. The joke had nothing to do with cats or whatever. It's like, well, wow, I joke here. I'm not going to continue joking in this thread now, but it's very strange. It's like, yes, we can stop what we're doing, talk about your pain, but place to put it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to mention one thing. Artificial intelligence. There was a tweet. There was a tweet from Paul Graham last week about AI. He's been, I guess, an investor in AI. And Tim, if you haven't been with us, cool prospects in AI, cool stuff. Also pretty dangerous, wild. But Paul was like, to me, like AI is just going to get really good at convincing people. Wow, you're like Captain Obvious. He's like Captain Obvious. He's like, where were you, Paul? You're a smart guy. Where have you been? Geez, yes. When you have a program,
That might happen.
the acceptance criteria to the program is tell me something smart I don't know that I believe. That's it. That's the acceptance criteria. That's what you're making. That is the product.
Yeah.
I wish I could find an article for you that's really cool. Somebody, the AI was advising their users about how to get something to happen in their app. And of course, it had totally hallucinated the whole thing. The feature didn't exist. There was nothing in there like that. And they started getting a lot of calls to customer support, emails, and such. And so many, in fact, that they went and they implemented the feature because it's
Yeah,
clearly
I
in
was just going
demand.
to say, might have been a good idea. Lo and
It was like
behold.
a free trial balloon release, right?
That's crazy.
The sweet spot's going to be bringing human language. Good at coding, really good at language, and a lot of times we kind of know what we want, but don't want to make a test because we're lazy or whatever. AI can make a test instantly, and it can be wrong instantly. For actual teaching.
I'm finding that it does a lot. So it's good at code is a pretty strong overstatement. It can often produce something that works, even though it may not do it all what you think it's doing, and it may not have done it at all in a way that any sane person would have done it. And it may not actually be working. It may just look like it's working. And I mean, it's really not very competent.
No.
At this point. But you know what? If you give it a screen and you say style this and make it colorful, or make this restyle this screen for elementary school students or for people with poor eyesight, it'll pop in and it'll actually do some nice stuff for you. You'll have to redirect it and guide it, but I've not found that it's particularly competent at generating code.
Well, this is a good point, and I want to put this in some context because I find the entire AI situation darkly hilarious. I have yet to run in a story that I don't find both kind of scary, funny. It's we generate too much stupid code that we don't need to already. So it's like, hey, this thing will generate a bunch of, I generate code 40 times faster. And he's like, good for you. Continue forward, young man. I made 40,000 lines of code yesterday just by speaking in the bathroom. Like, okay, God bless you. Go for it and do that. But that's not productivity. That's not value. That probably, to Tim's point, doesn't work to begin with. Brings us to this point here. Is this last one is that Dev study said that devs thought they were 20% faster using AI, but they were actually 19% slower.
Were they running a quarter mile?
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought. It was like, how are you measuring slower, faster?
Right. Keyboard typing? I'm not very fast.
From what I saw, apparently people don't count all the prompt writing and prompt refinement as part of the coding. So they're just counting the time that it's actually generating the code and not all the time that they spent to get it delivered. People just don't measure from the green light for the feature until it's in production.
That's it.
If we could focus on that, we'd quit
There you go.
doing silly things, and we get Amdahl's law involved again. So there's the work you do to set something up to do it in parallel. There's the period in which things are being done in parallel, and then there's the time it takes to put it all together. So the only place you get any advantage is in the middle there. Well, it's the same thing with this. We think about there's a time we set up to generate this code and use this massively parallel AI genius stuff. And then there's a time that it does its bit, and then there's all the time afterward to make it actually work and get it integrated and get it out. If we measured end to end, we would never say that. But what people are actually doing is when they got the prompt right finally, that it spit out the body of code and then it got the actual effect they were looking for. That's the period they're looking at, that little piece in the middle.
Looks like it works.
And that part felt fast.
I'm with you. I don't.
Once I went out to the garage, I opened the garage door, I pulled the truck out, and I pushed it uphill, and then I got inside it. It went down that next hill real easy.
Yeah, got great gas.
I had to push it back uphill and into my garage again by hand. But the part going downhill was fast.
Yeah.
I think what's happened to him, and it's happened in the 1990s, and one of the many things that pissed me off when I left programming was programming became an immersive experience and not a goal-oriented. By that, I mean, we're always working in feedback loops. We may admit it, we may not admit it, but at some point you're doing something on a screen or talking to a person, and there's some way of you telling whether or not you're actually doing a good job. And ideally, you have the user do some stuff, and I like that, because then your feedback loop is actual value. But the longer we stretch the value chain out, you still have those immediate feedback. Those feedback loops don't go away. So what you're doing is, oh, well, my IDE uses the console spot at 10 points because you're creating these artificial things that you feel like I provide value because I have the best whatever setup. And it feels like you're doing more. Getting code in faster, and it's enjoyable. So why isn't it better, right?
So one of my colleagues once said, with modern tool, you can make a pretty big disaster by hand. With modern tooling, you can make disaster faster. He said that in 1991.
Yeah. Let's see what was happening
Visual
then.
Basic, Visual Delphi came out, and it was like, wow, you can drag and drop forms, and it was amazing. And it did not occur to me that we're taking the focus from the value onto the interaction screen. That was started down that road then, and it didn't get better.
Yeah, it makes me,
And to be fair,
think back to model-driven architecture, which I remember being exposed to some really wild thing. Boy, well, it was in a CD form, so that dates it somewhere. It might have been in the 90s, might have been the 2000s. It's called Utah. But anyway, it was a cool idea. And I won't remember that much of it, but concepts like if you have, you need to have instruments, so to speak, like meters, thermometers, or, speedometers, or something like that. You could drop one of those onto the let's just say your user interface, and it would connect, it magically connected to the back end, and you could change one or the other, like that kind, just it did all the glue, it did all the, made everything look kind of magical, and it was just a pattern. And then later on, I do remember being in some funny conferences, like especially with like Scott Ambler and I were poking fun at the Microsoft guy, um, jovially, but around model-driven architecture. And I worked with, yeah, after we sold Together Soft, I did a little stint with Optimal J, which was a fascinating tool. It reminded me of, these all remind me of kind of what I learned with Peter Code and model-driven development in the sense of, the business model, the domain model is the core, and you got the user interface, you got the database. So that whole layered approach. And I always strove for a very consistent way to build something. And then Rails, very similar. Very focused on the domain. If you work with it, it'll make your life simpler. So, up until that point, I had to do everything by hand and, make sure your data layers all were named, very common, consistent convention. So model-driven architecture is all about extracting that metadata and then creating a template for, how do we get stuff, dredge it up out of the database? How do we get it up to the UI?
A common way of doing, like the team now understands the concepts the same way.
Yeah. And basically imagine layering on top of that AI where I can just talk to it about, here's my domain, here's the ding. And it, mostly for CRUD, let's face it, which a lot of apps are mostly create, read, update, delete, a lot of that's going on. But yeah, it might be primed for something like that where you talk your way into what you need the app to do in pretty consistent patterns. Because life is very consistent, like a lot of master detail, I got a list of things and I click on that, it has a list of things. Who knows, but somehow that just popped into my head.
We talked about this before, about programming being a bidirectional, sticking ideas. There's a thing that happens if you know what the hell you're doing programming, where you realize that the user has given you information that's self-contradictory at a level lower than they're actually describing it. Like, well, you can't get rid of the customer if he's more than 30 days because it's 60 days, some sort of conflict in the logic or whatever. And we want to do visual programming. We want to do, I just speak to the computer and it works. But we are not computers. Even programmers are very, very anal retentive about, okay, tell me exactly, you want 6 steps and turn left? Is that like I left, because we know, we've been there. And it's like you're giving that up, and that's not a freebie. You cannot give that up. The person needs to think precisely about what they want the program to do. That's not an optional thing.
We tend to look at this and it's about programming. So of course we think programming, but a lot of people are developing things that aren't programming. I don't know, what are people using, some like Gemini AI in their spreadsheets? Are they doing this with contract law? Are they doing it with, where are they putting this that isn't software? I mean, we can be pretty good with software, and maybe for the parts of software that don't matter, and a crappy answer probably is fine. Maybe there's prototype an app that would look like this. Don't bother with data backend. Don't bother with scale. Don't bother with security. Just prototype something that I can keep my notes in, attach more notes to. Okay, let's now create a real version of that. Maybe that's fine. Maybe prototyping a UI for somebody, describe it, have it drawn up.
Yeah.
Things like that aren't production code. But I wonder, I hear there's a lot of people having children's books written by AI, and they're complete garbage and they're being rejected. But now people are complaining that they're getting like 1,000 book submissions, and maybe one of them has an idea worth even considering.
Because that's another one of those things, just like that Lena Durham story we did, where people were like, oh, heck, I've got AI. I can write a book now. Like, well, no, there's more to it than just words coming out. I had to tell you a story.
Yeah.
Last night, I'm using Super Grok, and I saw a demo. I got to try this. So, sitting on the couch, I take a picture of my dog, Maisie, who's a Belgian Malinois. What kind of dog? And this is his voice. What kind of dog is this? She looks like part Shepherd, part Belgian. Sitting on a couch, and she's got a striped blanket. I'm like, okay. Tell me a story as if you were a teenager about what happens to Maisie right now. And it's like, well, she got off the damn couch and it's just put a bunch of profanity in it. Okay, no, make it like a children's story. And so then it was like the story of Maisie versus raccoon from across the street, but it still had profanity in it. It was like asking a teenager to tell a children's story. It's like mostly okay, and then the profanity will pop up here and there.
That's funny.
Well, at least it didn't turn Nazi on you.
It did not turn Nazi on me. It's very strange. I think there's some really good stuff here when it goes to pure language idea mining, maybe. I mean, I found nothing like AI for search. AI for search is freaking incredible. I verify everything it tells me, but it gives me an answer that would take me all day to figure out.
Yeah.
So are you using like Perplexity and oh shoot. Hold on, I've got a little list here somewhere. So I'm finding that some of them are good for searching some things and some are good for searching other things.
Mm.
Everybody's got a specialty, I guess. Elicit, Consensus, and Perplexity. Have you tried them?
I have not.
No.
I joined OpenAI back when they first went beta. Then I went to Grok.
Well, that one's not too bad.
Yeah.
Try Perplexity for that. And then if you're going to look for research papers, maybe try Consensus or Elicit. So I think you might find that you can get some pretty good material that way. I pulled up a number and it goes through, peer-reviewed, academic published studies and papers. You can be specific. Does it need to be a double blind? Does it need to be a literature review? Are those allowable? What kind of thing you're after? I don't doubt that, it's pretty useful. And like you said, for search, it seems to be particularly good.
Oh, yeah.
And really, I think with code generation, it's really just doing search anyway, and then changing out some words.
Yeah, you just told us all the magic trick now. It's all it's doing. Yeah, it's a sort of a fancy search and replace going on. Yeah, my wife wanted to buy a car, so I'm like, hey, what are cars that are between $5,000 and $7,000 that are, it gave me a list, gave me a bunch of websites, and within 5 or 10 minutes, I had researched, identified a model or two, found some in the local area. It was amazing. They were really cars that really existed. They couldn't do that 2 years ago.
No, that is pretty mind-boggling because, in the old days, you might have had to visit a bunch of the Google findings yourself. You go to each one, look, and da-da-da. And it's like a super powerful meta Google search. And it still gives you each source, which is, I think, is important because there was some value to having to wade through each answer, maybe looking and, at least makes you pause, makes you think. Here you might just mistakenly, depending on what it is you're asking about, it might be okay to just take the answer. But at least it's still giving you all the, did 35 sources to get you that car suggestion.
And what happens is you search the cars and you go to the websites, you actually look at the real data, and you see, well, okay, these cars have scratches. Then you go back and refine your question. Well, they all have scratches on the bumpers. Oh, yes, there's a water leak that's common in that model or whatever. So yeah, to your point, these questions are questions that prompt us to learn things. Right? They don't really have answers. What's a good restaurant to go to? What do you like? I'm like, great. Well, this is the beginning. That question is the beginning of a conversation that creates a social bond. It's not. There's no correct answer to what restaurant you want to go to. It doesn't work like that. Trust me, I've been married for 30 years. I know this. Where do you want to go? What restaurant? Sometimes it can take a while.
I saw a funny joke where you're supposed to ask, say something like you get in the car and go, "Oh, we're going to go to your favorite restaurant," and like you might not know what it is, right? Because you're a guy.
Should turn left up here.
And then you hope that she goes, "Oh, great! I'd love to go to," and then she says the name.
Yeah,
sweet.
They're still downtown. I liked it. I liked it. It's a good plan.
Right.
You're taking me to Guido's? That's excellent, darling. Yep, absolutely right.
Right.
And the beauty of that is that you can prompt by being wrong, and then you get bonus points for like being wrong and losing an argument. So it's like you win. It's win-win.
Ooh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that especially when I did my programming books back in the late teens, I would put my own graphics in. And as I did the graphics by hand, I rethought what the books were saying. And so, like when I do photography, and as I frame the picture and do the work, I'm rethinking what the image was. And there's this reflection process that's going on that's nonverbal. I just don't want a pie chart, right? I want to create a pie chart where I figure out which variables need to be in the pie chart. That's the process, not the pie chart. So for the restaurant idea, for the car idea, right? What's a good car? We throw out some qualifiers, and it gives us some answers. And as we research, we realize that those are not the qualifiers we actually wanted. So that's the real process, the real value. It's not that I have a question and an answer for. It's that a question will generate more questions that will eventually get me some. Sorry, I didn't mean to ramble. I find it hilarious. I just find AI hilarious.
Yeah, it's here to stay.
Ask any dang thing. Like, do you think I should be a doctor? Yeah, heck yeah.
In general, I do find Grok to be pretty humorous. Like you could probably ask questions like that, and it would probably give you a pretty humorous answer. Like, well, I'm not a doctor, but
I really think it's weird because I think that the true value of these meta tools is going to be without boundaries on them, because you want to explore the edges of conversation. That's where the interesting stuff happens. And the more guardrails you put on them, actually, the more sort of generic you make, more useless you're actually making it. This is the old security versus flexibility discussion we have in IT all the time. You have something totally secured and you can't use it to do anything, or you can have total flexibility and then you have security. But we're going to need an open source, open tool, and I don't know if that's ever going to come or not.
well, I must say I've been using it inside of RubyMine while I'm was doing some gnarly, fun little coding around static map generation for PDFs. And yeah, there's some goofy things going on. So I, cracked open the code again and looking at it. And it's not a particularly highly, let me just, say it's not probably high amount of test coverage because it's a bit of it's an interesting approach to use static maps. Basically, you're generating a URL saying what icons I got. So, if this is for fire planning, you might have a building pre-plan and hydrants and things inside the building, outside of stuff with GPS locations and names and different separate icons. And you want a nice, pretty picture in a PDF. Well, it's one thing to have it dynamically generated on the web page. That's cool and easy. It's another thing, well, how do I turn that into an image? So Google has a static map. Luckily, the URL just doubled in length, which I fixed it, not fixed it, but I upgraded the code. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Because, I went back to the same URL like I documented in my code where I'm getting this. This comes from this place in Google. Here's their documentation. So I just happened to notice. Cool. That's big. And then I did some other fun things to try to reduce because now if you've got a set of icons that you need to show and the number of markers that creates a URL that's longer than the given URL, how do I reduce it? So I did some fun prorated. Imagine this icon has 80% of your, especially like water supplies, almost all of them are generic. So the bulk of your icons are actually stuffed in this one image, yellow dot ping, and the orange dot ping has 20%. So I use the AI to start querying and questioning, I kind of knew how to, pretty sure I knew the answers to a lot of these things, but even there I would just say, hey, help me create, and prorate. I would describe what I wanted to do, even maybe give it some samples of the arrays or the hashes and say, I want to write an algorithm to prorate the number across these images. Sure enough, it gave me code, and it even shows you running the code. It shows a little. So anyway, I used it. I would even do stupid things like I'm pretty sure I need to use round, but let me just ask it. Okay, I can minimize my latitude and longitudes by reducing them to 6 decimal places. How would you recommend doing that? Sure enough, it's using round. So sometimes I'm even using it as a really quick and dirty, and I'll say it's way faster than Googling it. It's like right in my browser, I'm right in my IDE. I can ask it questions. It'll even do things for the code. So that's a very fascinating, slightly more focused. But still, I found it helpful, even just reminding me of stuff. Because I'm not intensely coding 8 hours a day, so some of these things I remember. But it's really helpful.
That's an interesting application because you mentioned the problem. You have too many tags, and the tags blow out the URL. I think any of us who've done URL-based navigation, you run into that. And there's a ton of answers that came to mind right away. But you went to the AI and it said, okay, well, you do this. You sort of reduce it down to the biggest ones or whatever. It's fascinating. So, I mean, if you're using that to explore various solution options quickly, are you really thinking about the options? Like, for instance, you could do a bounding box, right? Your first 2 coordinates on your URL would be your bounding box of all the lat longs. And then you do like a hex 64 compressed thing after that, and you would end up probably put a 50 in. But I don't know if, that's trade-offs. You have to realize what that does and the trade-offs, or you can copy the code and get, the bigger icons. That's a really cool example because I'm not sure exactly how the process should work. I think it's cool that it shows you how to do it. It's just, how much should you think about how you're doing it?
Well, I definitely bias it with how I was thinking that. I was pretty sure, just because you can see the icons and I know how the app works so I had an idea that to prorate it, like if I need to cut 500 icons out of 2,000, and I could also compute the length. So I had a little do while loop essentially, but I was asking it some internals, and it was very helpful, and it also helped me find funny mistakes, and I couldn't like a trailing comma at the end of because it turned out you could compact things by, okay, here's the image for the icon, and then you do lat long pipe, lat long pipe, lat long pipe, etc. And I ended up with an extra, like I got static map error messages, and lo and behold, because of my debugging, like I could see, wow, look at that, they're all at the the very end of each icon list. Like, I'll be damned. And sure enough, there's an extra comma, because suddenly the map showed, a hydrant in Thailand. It's like, okay, that ain't right. But Grok there. Now I was using Grok a little bit to help me, and it told me better than the Google Docs how to go find the error in static max and the X header. And sure enough, like, I'll be damned, it shows me exactly the index of the lat longs that screwed up. And I asked the AI, can you help me make sure that how I'm writing the code and how I'm concatenating, like ampersand, join, and all this crap? And it said, no, you're doing it right. I said, okay, I thought so.
It's like having a drunken friend at a bar who knows you do whatever you want. It's like, hey, can you do that? Oh, yeah, sure. You can be a doctor if you want. And it's like,
yeah, there's a dude on my shoulder that I could ask questions.
It's false. It sounds good and you like it, and it beats not having any ideas at all, right? It looks and says, hey, you're good, and it looks good, and you think it's good, and Grok thinks it's good. Hey, why argue? It runs. It passes the test.
It makes me remember. Remember Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure when they were doing their homework? They'd go sit on the sidewalk at a gas station and ask passersby for the answers.
Oh, no, that sounds funny though. Yeah, it's like somebody I could ask. Yeah.
I guess it really does come down to. Today, just everything comes down to what is your intention and perspective and direction. But
this is the same as this name calling discussion. Like, if I'm asking what restaurant I want, I'm sorry, Tim, but if I'm asking which restaurant I want to go to, do I care enough to really want an answer, or do I just want an answer? I apologize for interrupting.
But no, it's also with am I asking to learn, or am I asking to get out of learning? Right? Bill and Ted are at the 7-Eleven, And they're not asking so that they know what to research. They're asking so they just turn it in as is and not have to think about it. So the other day, I don't remember what I was dealing with. I guess it was probably with the little Angular app. And there was something I needed, and I don't know my way around these configuration files. That it's new to me, you know. It's like, well, hey AI, here's what I want to do. Oh, well, I have to change the configuration for that. Well, just go ahead and change the configuration, and it did. And I went, oh, I have to stop and ask myself, is this a skill I want to acquire?
Yes.
Because I might have to debug this later if it doesn't go well.
Yes.
And if so, can I learn that just in time later when I need it? Since it's not, I know I'm not going to get a phone call at 2 a.m. It's a toy. What's my intention? Am I doing that so I can see how it's done and look it up? Have it explained to me? Or am I just going to let it do the thing? Oh, it looks like it's working and then go on my way. Am I avoiding learning? Or am I initiating learning with this? That's a huge difference, man.
And
Yeah, it's a great point.
Deliberate about that. I'll copy the heck out of some Stack Overflow code and paste it if it's something not important. Like, I changed the font on a button on. Okay, here's like 10 lines of Win32 code. Great, I don't care either it changes the font or not. It's not a business process. I'm good. But you're deliberate about knowing that. At some point, you're like, well, maybe I need to know the general idea of how to change fonts on other UI elements. That's a professional, reflective conversation you really need to have.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great point.
Okay, guys, it's 4:00. Anybody have anything to say? I'll just say the goodbye thing, and I'll come right back. Good.
Yep.
Good for the goodbye thing.
You've been here at the Roundup. I'm sorry, but come back. Enjoyed having you. I had a lot of fun. We have fun every week. I'm Daniel Markham. There's the website, and talk to you later. All right, cool beans, guys. I'm gonna shut this broadcast off. About 4,000.
I have to go join somebody else. Thanks for letting me be in.
Yeah,
Nice to see you guys. I hope I was.
Nice to see you, Tim.
Yeah, you speak and everything. It's amazing.
I'll catch y'all later.
Okay.
See ya.
Tim. Have a good one.
Oh no, it deleted stuff. It didn't do the right thing.
Just hit the hang up thing.
Yeah, it's a little red button at the bottom.
Found.
Let me do the end of broadcast. Cool beans, yes, end of streaming. Good deal. John, thanks for dropping by.
Likewise, I'm going to try the video, just see if it has any change in effect. But yeah, you'll probably freeze, and I'll just say goodbye now.
Okay. Okay, I can see the spinning blue dots again, and it's no. You went away. Yeah, no. Oh well. Guys, later.